So I kind of awoke this morning to some interesting things trending on Twitter, and one of the things trending was Ubisoft. And Ubisoft is trending for a very interesting reason because it looks like they are actually ripe for the plucking in terms of selling or potentially being acquired. And that was a very odd situation because a lot of people are probably pretty much assuming, it's a Sony or a Microsoft situation. And maybe, slow your roll a bit when it comes to that because at the end of the day, a lot of people probably think, well, Microsoft could pick them up for really cheap, and they probably could. But the problem would be, can you pick up Ubisoft and have Activision at the same time? And I think that's probably where some of the issues come into play here. I don't think Microsoft is going to be able to pick up another big publisher like a EA or a Take Two or a Ubisoft. The main reasoning is because they already have just picked up, Activision as soon as that goes through, which probably won't be till next year sometime. And then they, of course, have picked up Bethesda. It's going to be difficult for them to kind of do anything else going forward in terms of that large. But, who knows what will happen. But this is very interesting because I felt like this was a topic worth kind of going over. Now, according to this, private equity is eyeing Ubisoft as the next big gaming acquisition, which I thought was very interesting because their stock price actually jumped 11% on Friday following claims that the Assassin's Creed company is attracting takeover interest. Now, according to Bloomberg Report, several private equity firms, including Blackstone Inc., KKR and Company, have been studying the game's publisher per its sources. Now, Ubisoft hasn't entered into any serious negotiations yet, and it's unclear whether its major shareholders is willing to pursue a deal, but Ubisoft actually declined to comment on any takeover interest per se, but it's one of the biggest third-party game publishers in the world and owns brands such as Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, Far Cry, and Just Dance. The French company has become the subject of much speculation recently following a growing trend of consolidation in the game industry. M&A activity in the games industry hit a record $85 billion in 2021 and has been forecast to reach $150 billion this year, with huge deals such as Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard and Take-Two's buyout of Zynga having already been announced in 2022 opening months. Ubisoft was asked in an earnings call in February if it believed it would be able to guarantee access to various gaming platforms it releases its games on in the future should it resist any of the consolidation happening in the industry, and the CEO said he believes that it would. He said, "We will continue to have access to all of those platforms because all the platforms need great content. If we are continuing to do great content like we do today, we will be able to access all of those platforms." If we look at Nintendo, we are the number one third-party publisher on it. Nintendo is interested in everything we do, and we are even developing games with their brands. So the collaboration exists, and it is very fruitful. The executive also said he believes that Ubisoft would remain independent, and that any offers to buy the company would be reviewed in the interest of the stakeholders. So you're looking at a situation where, let's just play devil's advocate and say, Sony or Microsoft were to buy Ubisoft. Whoever were to buy Ubisoft would have to keep it probably independent, meaning that they would still have to put all the games on all the platforms and all future platforms, which makes it a little bit redundant to actually go out there and buy it. It's like the idea of buying something, like let's say Netflix were to buy a series, right? And then they allow that series to go on HBO and Hulu and Disney or whatever. It's redundant to buy it because the whole idea behind buying something like that and content would be, you buy it and then you have a difference between that and, the other companies. You have something that they don't have. You don't, buy it and then continue. And I understand the irony in that because Microsoft is buying, Activision, and they're going to keep the well-known games, non-exclusive, and Sony bought Bungie, and all those future games and current games are going to be multi-plat as well. But I think the major issue there with those is the fact that Call of Duty is like the biggest game year in year out, and Bungie would only agree to be bought if they could stay independent like that as well. So it sounds like Ubisoft is sort of going down that route, and so I think we'll have to wait and see what happens. But for me personally, I don't think that either a Microsoft or a Sony would make sense to buy that company because they would just be more independent. Now it really would almost seem like a bit of a monopoly had Microsoft or Sony actually went in there and did that. See, the thing is, and this is very interesting, is that Sony, being the first place company, probably couldn't buy a company like Ubisoft or EA or any of those big companies like that. The only reason why Microsoft will be allowed to is because, their place in the industry isn't exactly first place. And so that's something that, they're allowed to kind of buy things to be able to compete, and hopefully that they're going to be able to compete down the line. And that's exactly what they're doing. Now, again, this is something that kind of heats up and takes priority and precedent later on. Like, I'm surprised that this is like news on a Saturday that companies are looking to actually buy out Ubisoft. But again, it does make sense if you look at where their stock was and where they're kind of coming from in terms of what they're able to kind of accomplish for gamers. Now, Ubisoft is a company that, man, like, they were really much in a position where I thought they couldn't do any wrong for a long time. And why I say that is because if you look at what they were able to do with some of the earlier Assassin's Creeds, and I would say that I know people love the newer Assassin's Creeds, and they're beautiful to look at for sure, but I much preferred the other Assassin's Creeds. I mean, Unity was also a really good Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 4, Rogue, 3, 1, 2, the whole group with Ezio, I thought that was a fantastic trilogy. I had yet to finish one of the newer ones because they just are kind of a real pain in the butt to get through. They turned the Division into a free-to-play type game, so I have no interest in that. It doesn't seem like they're doing a Splinter Cell anytime soon. They really kind of took a downturn, and that's really unfortunate to say the least. So hopefully they can get some of that old swagger back just a little bit and kind of be the success that they used to be, because I feel like that's going to be important going forward in the industry. I think the industry needs these big studios, these big companies, these big publishers like that, and they do need them to kind of stay independent, in my opinion. So that's something that I hope we see before too long, that stuff like this is going to change. And again, at the end of the day, as long as Microsoft and Sony are putting out quality content, I don't think it matters. Both have like these services that they're working on and rely on a lot of content and things like that. So we'll see how it works out, and we'll see what happens long term. But it is interesting. But again, I wouldn't expect a huge situation where we get Microsoft or Sony looking to buy it, in particular for those reasons. Like I said, Sony probably wouldn't be allowed, and Microsoft probably wouldn't be allowed at this point. I mean, let's just be real. They're still waiting on this Activision merger to go through. So anyway, with that being said, this is Crap Gamer, and of course this is Crap Gamer Reviews. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It helps the video to be seen and helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for watching. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Crap Gamer out.